Cool. Welcome to the Hot Girl Agenda. I'm your host, Rara Imler. Tonight we have with me Katie Hughes. Hi, Katie.
Hello. How are you, Rara?
I'm fantastic. And we also have Lou Moon. Lou
Hello.
Big Muscles Moon. How are you, babe?
I'm doing good. I don't know what made me want to put big muscles on there. Was it my big muscles? Probably.
Yeah, you were inspired by yourself. That's great.
Yeah, my comedic persona is way into myself. So
I love it. I love it. Yeah, so tonight is going to be like the comedy episode. We kind of touched on comedy last week with my friend Kennedy and Kiami Nichols. But this week it's like all about comedy because all three of us are stand-up comics, as Katie said, in the old world.
In the old world.
Yes, in the before times. In the before times, we were all stand-up comedians, and we obviously couldn't do that with COVID. So now we're all kind of just fucking around on the internet. So we're going to talk about like the future of comedy and what comedy is like right now, both in a digital space and in real life for anyone doing real life shows. And also just kind of like what's going on with you two and what kind of projects you're working on. So let's just like jump right into the first. Oh, yeah, I did want to talk about first because this is like breaking news on the internet. So Sacha Baron Cohen, aka Borat, for those not in the know, he is like releasing his new movie, which is the sequel to Borat. And it came out that apparently there's a scene where Rudy Giuliani whips it out for a journalist who is posing as a 15-year-old girl. The woman herself is she's actually like the actress herself is actually like 24 years old, I found out. But it's not clear whether Rudy Giuliani actually knew that she was 15 years old. But what is clear from the video is that he is like flirting with this girl who's posing as a journalist in a hotel room and like getting really flirty. And then he like plops on the bed and like just starts putting his hand down his pants. Lou, I'm sure you've seen this. You're also extremely online. And Katie, I know you've seen it too. Have you seen the screenshot yet?
Yeah.
I really want to bring it up, but I'm not very technical. I'm not good at this. This is why I'm having a producer start next week because I'm not good at bringing this shit up. But basically, if you haven't seen the screenshot, consider yourself blessed because it's really disturbing.
It is.
Yeah.
And
she looks like she could be on a Fox News anchor, like Junior. Like
yeah, I think that was the inspiration.
I think they have a type. Yeah.
Yeah, but she was supposed to be like Eastern European Tomi Lahren, or Lahren. How the fuck do you pronounce her name? Tomi Lahren. Yeah, and Big Tim's here, and he said it's truly glorious. That's a word for it.
Big Tim in the house. Have you guys seen Tomi Lahren? Like pictures of her before her plastic surgery?
No. Do tell.
It is. I am not one to shame women normally, but she's a goblin woman. And she looks like one too. She's got a forehead that you could like have a drive-in movie on. You can watch like Jaws 4 on it.
So do you think she got like some like plugs like put in the front or something?
Like I think like everything got pulled. Just like they like grabbed her by the forehead and like close pinned it back like an episode of The Simpsons. It's insane. I would encourage everyone and you two to Google it. It's outrageous.
I'm definitely yes.
Is that helpful?
Oh my god.
I think that was
she's all like, forehead.
Is that mid changes?
I think that's mid. There's like an older sort of grainier picture of her, like someone just like captured the Jersey Devil on film picture of her. That's the one.
Yeah, she looks like an evil white lady. Like the lack of eyebrows. If you're that blonde, you have to have eyebrows. You know, like you can't just not have eyebrows.
You can draw them in. You can make any emotion you want.
Yeah. You know, they tattoo them these days.
That's actually realistic looking tattoo hair. It's not her real hair. It's just a tattoo of an illusion.
They just textured it in.
It's a magic trick. Yeah. She also looks like she had some kind of eye, like maybe she did have some kind of like eye lift, because it looks like her eyes are like crazy hooded in that. And like they're just like this. Yeah. But Lou, if you're wondering if you can make fun of Tomi Lahren, you can. That's punching up because she's like rich and awful. So you're fine.
Yeah.
It's always weird. It's always weird when like men start talking about women's looks, but at the same time, like she's not a woman, she is a goblin. Like, so I don't consider
we're making fun of her lizard, like the lizard inside the costume, bought a bad costume and then tried to upgrade the costume.
Right.
We can make fun of that.
Have you seen like the pictures going around of Mitch McConnell's hands in the pictures of like his, like there was like some press release or something where his hands just look like zombie hands, and all of the GOP is just like melting into like their lizard, the facade of humanity is dripping and the lizards are just like coming out. It's pretty incredible to watch.
Yeah. They're all just like 2/3 full bags of mice. That's the GOP.
Yeah, he does look fucking dead. He looks like he's not getting circulation at all to his hands.
Like, I do know what picture you're talking about. It's very ghoulish. Yes, it's frightening.
Yeah, ghoulish is the word to like describe that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this Rudy Giuliani thing, I just want to say like one more thing about it. I cannot wait for like the think pieces that come out about this, like trying to excuse his behavior, because we, penises on film have had a big week. It's been a big week ever. It's been a big week for penises on camera, whether they want to be on camera or not. So it's just like, this is like just like one more thing where where people have to like explain themselves and their dirty, nasty habits, which by the way, don't fucking jerk off on a work call. Like, I understand being naked. I sit around topless all the time when I'm doing work at home, but that's just like not chill. Like, don't masturbate when you're talking to your coworkers. The fuck?
What is arousing about a Zoom call? It is so there's nothing that arouses me about a Zoom call. Like, every part of it is more, moisture absorbing than the last.
Yeah, and it was something about like election.
I think we can make the rule. Like, I think we can just make we can just make it a rule. Like, don't jerk off while you're talking to anybody. How about that? Like, if
they don't know about it, especially.
Right.
Like, I think that's the worst part, is that like everyone, like, oh my God, like how many calls have we been in where the camera's off, where people are just jerking off? Now I'm never gonna stop like thinking about it. That's gross. We gotta cut off all penises.
I'm gonna be logging out after every Zoom show. Just like end meeting. We're done. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Also, I swear to God, my camera's just happening.
I know, right? Yeah, we're talking about this, and Lou's just sitting there with camera off.
Oh yeah,
he knows what he's doing with those big.
No, my camera's just not working.
Someone's projecting.
In the moment. My hands are on my desk.
Speaking of Zoom shows, since we're all comics, and since we all cannot do IRL comedy right now, or it's just like kind of, it's kind of wacky to even consider it. Have y'all done Zoom shows yet? Like hosted any, or been in any, or attended any?
I did. I've done them since like the beginning, and I didn't want to do them because I have never been like, oh, I love being on camera. Like, I love a live show because we are done when it's done. Like, it's a moment in time. But I was like, okay, well, let's try to just stay fresh. And so like I did like a thing that was like an online roast battle that was like weekly, where it was like, oh, I have to, and this is like very, very beginning of quarantine. Like, we hadn't even had 3 weeks. People are like, all right, let's do some Zoom shows. We're going to be back in the clubs. And then it was like, oh no, we're not. So it's like, I've definitely said yes to every paying Zoom show. And I've said yes to many, many Zoom shows. They're not all good. And it took a while to realize who was doing the good ones and not. And I would say that's the biggest thing now, is just like avoiding that.
Right. So Lou, have you done any Zoom shows lately or at all?
Yeah, I've done my fair share of them. It's sort of like I think you and I were messaging about this back and forth the other day, Rara. It is sort of like um, it really is. It's like you're doing your jokes in front of an audience of people, and those people occasionally laugh, and it's like that is also a comedy show, but it's also it can never compare to like the live show just because it's so much more like intimate and I don't let me well it's like let me ask you this, Katie, like have you or have you or someone you known ever like crushed at a like an online show? Is that like a thing that happens, do you think?
I've had fun, and I think that is the closest I can get. And so by when I say fun, I mean I'm getting some reaction consistently throughout. And I would say like if you kind of move the metrics of like what is the like what's the maximum good thing that can happen, I would say I've been very happy after like a Zoom show and not wanted to do harm to self or others after most Zoom shows. It's just like, well, that was a thing. And then some I have really hated, and those have been the ones that they have not treated professionally. So as long as you're going to do it professionally, we're all trying our hardest. But if you're going to be like, oh, we're going to start it whenever we have people in here, and then there's a ding dong, people coming in and out, and you go, hey, are you ready to start to the comedian who you don't have a cool little like StreamYards green room for? Do you know what I mean? Like if you treat it shitty, which I have done, and then that was the last time I will work for you. So it's just like this is the new scene, I guess. And now we just have to like navigate. And I think it's easier to like quickly go good, bad, based on what we already know.
Yeah, I think I think the Zoom thing is probably really unforgiving too, because it's like it's all right here, you know. So it's like you have to be so much more aware of just the fact that you're just within this like space that is not, you can't, like, I move around a lot on stage, so I can't imagine just like sitting down telling jokes and being like, hey.
I definitely do a lot of like this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're having fun. Like just fucking with like the scenario as much as I can. Because I already make a lot of faces.
Yeah, I guess if you like kind of move I guess if you treat the camera as also just another tool for, you know, timing or context or whatever, I think that probably would be helpful. I haven't done any shows because I think I signed up for like one open mic digitally, and then I immediately backed out of it. And I was like, this is stupid. This is stupid. I hate it. Which is funny because now I'm just like streaming. Now I'm just like streaming. And I'm not telling jokes though. I think that's the hard thing that I have to like think of is like, I don't see my jokes as working well at all on Zoom. They barely work at all in person.
Yeah, come on.
I don't know. I haven't written a single joke since quarantine started.
That's been hard. That has been very difficult to want to do comedy.
Yeah, because it's like, what do you fucking talk about? Nobody's doing anything. And then if you talk about doing stuff, you always have to preface it with like, I'm not a shitty person, actually. I'm wearing a mask. I'm social distancing. Because it feels like a character judgment. If you tell people you like did something or went somewhere, it's like you always have to like preface it by like, I was being responsible. And I don't know, maybe that's just my own neuroses, but yeah, it feels like a bit uncomfortable, but I don't know. I'm willing to like give it a shot. And I also just really feel like I need to be more supportive of the people actually doing it, because it takes a lot of effort to set something like that up. And I know my friends are all doing it, but I already stare at the screen so much. I think that's another thing too, is everyone's just staring at their fucking screens so much. It's hard to imagine doing it for like a live event for that more than like an hour or so. I mean, yeah, anyone watching this stream is usually like, you know, not exclusively just watching this like stream. They're like online shopping or just like tweeting or whatever. So
yeah, I think if you have an audience that is engaged and like almost on a schedule, that helps. Like I would say like Starbar has their Monday night mic online, and I've hosted that once, and I encouraged the people on Twitch to do the chat. And I would say, like, using all the tools you have, make it a more fun show. Like, oh, now the comics can like poll the audience. Like Ian would be like, what's your favorite dessert? And then he could kind of do crowd work. So that was cool. But the best show I've done has been my friend Carmen Morales. I think she did Altercation too.
Yes.
She does it bi-weekly, so she's not burning people out, which I think is good.
Yeah.
She hosts it like a real fucking show. Like she's not sitting down. She's like got like a backdrop, and she does like a lot of like how you doing, what's up. Like she is like a host at her house, and so she's like, what are you drinking? Who's this? And then it's like everybody's like ready to go, and they leave their mics on and they don't talk, and so like you actually get laughs. And then at the end, there's a cocktail party where you just kind of talk and like show your cat to her or whatever. And it's that like she makes it an event. And I think that the effort she puts in shows by being the best. Now, it is like the best of what we can do. So it's not
right. Yeah. I think it says something about like comedy in general that, and you know, just like an artists in general too, through this whole thing is we've all kind of found ways to cope and get some kind of like creative outlet going, because it's so weird not being able to do like anything live, you know, like it's like a weird, hole in everyone's lives, you know, even if you're not a performer, it's like you're usually, you know, you like going to concerts, you like going out. I haven't been in a restaurant since I think before quarantine started. So that's another thing too, is like some, you know, you go to a pizza place, you watch an open mic or something, you watch a band play. And it's like, there's this really weird, like huge gap where everything seems kind of compartmentalized as far as entertainment goes. Because in a live venue, you can kind of have several things going on, but so there can be like several things distracting from maybe like a show not going so great or, but yeah, I don't know. I think the Zoom thing is good. I think it also is kind of like, it's kind of like pointing to the fact that the people that are set up for it, and like doing a really good job with it are the ones that were already kind of putting in a lot more effort with their live shows to begin with. It's like they already kind of had a sense of what people were like requiring from an audience. But yeah, I'm curious to see how one goes if I attend one. I have a hard time just like staring at a screen though for a while. Like I'm too fucking ADHD for that shit.
I think a lot of people don't expect much out of their fellow, let's say, coworkers, where it's like, we know that, like we don't, and if you do it, it is very charitable. So I think that you don't have to leave your screen on. I think you can just do your time and log out, and like that's fine. Everybody's happy you did the show. I just think, yeah, like like you said, the people treating it professionally, like they know that it's not easy to stare at your screen, so nobody's like judging you, I think.
Right.
Yeah, like I really relate to those like neuroses that you have, Rara. That's like the first time I did a Zoom show, I was like, I'm gonna hate this. This is all gonna suck. Like, and but like as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, this is incredibly low stakes.
So low stakes, yes.
Yeah, exactly. This is only for fun. And that's the thing too, is like, I think as comedians, at least this is my experience, I don't know if it is for you guys, sometimes I do forget like, oh, this is supposed to be fun.
Yeah, I get that way. I forget that when I'm on stream, you know, because I feel like there's so much build up to the actual day that I'm streaming, because I have one stream time right now, and I'm like, I just built it all up in my head, and then when I start, I get so nervous, and it's like I've never been in front of a camera before, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like last week, I was completely like a nervous wreck, and I was like, why am I a nervous wreck? It's just a webcam show, like essentially. So,
dude,
same.
Yeah. If I do stand up in real life, I have to pee so many times before the show. And now I just go to my own bathroom back and forth. I think that's been lovely. But also my worst Zoom show is nowhere near my worst stand-up show. Like I will never have to drive home crying after a Zoom show, which feels good, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Big Tim actually just brought up a good point right now about Zoom shows, is that it also costs money to watch, so they want to be there. And that's really true, because it's if someone just randomly walks into like a venue and they're not ready for comedy, you like that's sometimes some of the worst people to do comedy for. Sometimes they're great, but most of the time they're just loud and they want to talk to their friends, and they really don't like it when you tell them to be quiet or even ask politely. No. I was called a cunt once when I asked someone politely if they could stop talking so loud, and they're like, "You're being a fucking cunt," and I was like, "Okay." What do you do in that situation? I'm not going to fight you. So it's like, I guess I'll just go back to doing my show. Like, just
but
like,
I mean, That's the show producers, like on their end, where it's like, you didn't tell anybody we're doing a show. Like, at least on Zoom, people know you have to log in. We are ready to go. Like, even if I'm just listening, you know, in the kitchen, still better.
Yeah, I think that dynamic.
Like before the pandemic, I started getting this sense of like when I was doing like local shows and like doing open mics and stuff, I left every one of those shows as being like, I bothered every single person who was there. Like this is my whole life, and my whole life is bothering people. and that's like, I was like, you know what, like I'm not gonna do open mics anymore. They don't do anything for me, blah blah blah. And now it's like, now I miss like bothering people.
I know. I miss just being like up on stage at a pizza place and there's like a family of 4 and they're just like trying to get out of there as fast as possible so their kids don't hear somebody say like a dick joke. And like, and you're just like up on stage like, this is my life. Like, this is who I am now. Follow me on Twitter.
It's like, you know, some 18-year-old comic. Some 18-year-old comic just be like, hey kids, you ever eat ass? Like,
I think you're giving these families like a valuable story because they like hate it at the time, but that is like going to be the hit story at Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. You know what I mean? Like they weren't going to stop talking about that.
You're right. And also like probably their meal wasn't that great to begin with. And so now they have something to talk about. And maybe you just saved their marriage too, because maybe they were like arguing, like the parents were arguing, and now they get to both agree that you're just a fucking asshole ruining their children's minds.
You're right, Rara. I am a hero.
We're all heroes here. I mean, we are doing the Lord's work. But so actually, I wanted to bring this up with you, Lou, because we talked about maybe discussing a little bit about accessibility in comedy. But you know, just from like a practical lens, like I'd say like, you know, all these digital shows popping up, it's making it easier for, you know, for people who are disabled to kind of come in and into the scene and be a part of it in a way that maybe wasn't possible before. Have you like had any experience with that? Or like, have you talked to anybody that's like maybe like felt that way where they finally kind of have it in where they wouldn't physically?
You know, like I will say this, it's definitely much easier to do like Zoom shows and to like climb up some stairs. And like one of the few shows I did, but like before the pandemic, like I went on the road for a little bit for like a couple of dates with Mishka Shubali and Jake Flores. And one of the places that we were doing it at was this restaurant in Bisbee, Arizona, where the stage for this restaurant, it was up like 8 feet. Like you had to like climb up like a bunch of like you had to like climb up like a bunch of stairs to get to the top. And Mishka was just like you okay getting up those stairs? And I'm like, fucking no.
Great Mishka impression, by the way.
Thank you. I did it. I did that at last year's altercation, and it was a smash. This is just a thing that like people don't really think about a lot of the time, and it's like, why would they, you know, sort of thing. But like disability isn't a thing that like normal people think about a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So I you know, I have to think about like someone like there's this great comedian Danielle Perez who doesn't have any legs and she's in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. And she's super funny, and it's just like it sucks that like she needs to like talk to someone before the show to just be like, hey, can we find a way to get me up these stairs, or like I can't be on the stage. But like that is a cool thing about Zoom though, that like it is 100% accessible as long as you have an internet connection.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's something to think about too. Like if we ever get to go back to the clubs and stuff, is like, how are we going to kind of address this, this lack of access for, you know, people with like physical disabilities and like wheelchair access and things like that, because that is something that especially like older venues, they just don't seem to have. And a lot of people don't even really want to, you know, a lot of club owners are shitty in general and greedy and selfish, but they don't necessarily want to invest in like upgrading their infrastructure at all. And like that is something that always has concerned me, because like, you know, I know comedians in wheelchairs, and I know comedians with physical disabilities, and it's always like been a tricky aspect of booking a show too, because you always want to make sure that you start shows at venues where it is accessible. Like that's a big thing in Atlanta that's I've run into, is like I'll be like, this venue is perfect, it's got this, and this, and then you're like, it doesn't have wheelchair access, like, or it's like, or the hallway is like not even like wide enough to allow a wheelchair or something, or it's like, or the stage is just like insanely tall and there's like one step to get up there. But yeah, I don't know. It's something that I definitely wanted to talk to you about, probably more in depth at a different time, about like what we can do to help out our comrades who are you know, physically I guess, is handicapped the correct terminology, or would you say or would disabled be the correct terminology?
I would say I usually just say disabled. Handicap is sort of old school. But can I say one more thing about accessibility, specifically just like with me? Because when you asked me if I wanted to talk about accessibility in comedy, actually the first thing I thought of is this. Comedians watching this, stop asking me if you can see my cane. I would really just appreciate every show, like I think outside of altercation, a comedian, because like comedians are like maniacs and like we're all about ourselves, whatever, and like gratifying ourselves, and so like people just ask to hold my cane all the time. They're like, "Oh, it looks so cool!" Like, and it's just like, throw up those X's.
Why do people need to touch other people's stuff, like from hair to canes? Like you don't need to. You can go get your own. Go find one when you get home and touch that. How about that?
Or just like make comments on people's like appearance or like something physically about them. Like that's another thing too. It's just like you don't need to say anything. Like especially if you don't know somebody, you don't know their life. You don't know that comments about like their weight or their looks or their disability would be like potentially triggering for them. I was at a show, I think it was in like January or December, and I was helping another comic, my buddy Adam, and we were about to leave the show after they got off stage, and this other like comic, it was like a Laughing Skull open mic or something. They came up to Adam and they were like, "Oh, I think you're faking it." And Adam's like bald from cancer and in a wheelchair. And they were like, "Excuse me?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can walk." I was just like, I was like, actually, no, they can't. And I just like shoved past her and I was like, wheeled them out of the room. It was just so like mortifying and also just like so triggering for them, right? It was like fucked up. So yeah, if you're a comedian watching this or audience member, don't comment on people's disability, or especially say like you're faking it. That's such a fucked up thing to say, you know? Like
I always wonder, what do people have to gain by, because I feel like I always think like before I speak, and I mean maybe that'll like stop me from saying something brilliant that, you know, one day, but I feel like
but usually not. usually
not. Never. Like
in life it helps to just
I think that's something people don't know. It's like even if you have a thought that's like not the best thought, you can have that thought. It's the difference between having it and then saying it. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I want to try on everybody's glasses. I want to put on all the hats and I want to dance with all the canes.
I want to touch everybody's hair.
I'm not insane. And really, I don't want to touch anybody's hair because I would never want my head touched by a stranger. But the costume aspect I do like. I'll do that at home by myself.
Yeah. But yeah, like don't touch disabled people's like tools they need to like move around in the world, you know?
Like
yes. Can I take the thing that lets you walk?
Because like they think they look like Charlie Chaplin or something. Because it never fails. They will take my cane, they will do a little dance, and then they will give it back to me. It never fails.
You should start taping them, and then you would have a viral sensation. You go, you can hold my cane and do your little dance. Let me tape it.
You could have a viral doing video on TikTok
for sure.
Ooh, this is how we get you some good lawsuit money.
Monetize,
right
yes.
That is such a good idea. Like
that's what we do, right? We monetize our trauma. That's what we fucking do.
I mean,
exactly.
What else do we have at this late stage in the game?
Honestly,
yeah, most of us have like 3 jobs, so I would like one last job. Like, it would be nice, like some third job money.
Mm-hmm.
But like truly, like the amount of times I've been accused of faking it is insane. It's the same thing with because I'm on the autism spectrum and I talk about that too, like in my comedy. And people are like, I don't think you're autistic. I've seen you talk to a person. There's no way.
It's such a like weird like 1980s like perception of autism, like that is also stop using the word like autistic as like a dunk on people like in comedy. I've heard that too, and that's really shitty,
I hate that so much. I think that truly the specificity of doing like just to say like, oh, I'm not going to say the R word, so I'm going to you're going to be more specific. That is, I think that's way less funny than anything.
That's 100% it though. They just want to say the R word, and so they're like, I know this one. Like,
right, and also like people just don't. Like, also, if you stand up for yourself, I'm sure this has probably happened to you, Lou, and say something, then people can just be like, oh, like whatever, and I don't know, like, what do you think the likelihood is of an autistic person, like actually saying something in the moment to like address that? Because I feel like that's as a, I guess, neurotypical person, I would be mortified at that, just hearing it. So I can only imagine what it feels like to be on the receiving end of that shit.
Right. So it's more like, I think the best way of saying it is like especially in the context of comedy, it's like, what can I say? They're just going to say, I have thin skin. They're going to say like, learn how to take a joke. It's just a joke, just bullshit like that. But it's like, it's not a joke because it's not funny. Jokes have context. They are funny by nature. It's not a joke to just say something or someone is autistic as a dunk. I don't know. Yeah. So that's a gripe I have with that. But yeah.
Well, luckily, sorry, go ahead, Katie.
I was gonna say what Rara said was like about like what an old-fashioned notion people have about autism, but what even like an old-fashioned notion people have about compliments. Do you know what I mean? Like across the board, but specifically treating that like that's a compliment. Like to me, that's like, do you not hear what you're saying? Because what's the like every coin has 2 sides, dude. Like so that's my. I don't know. It's hard to hear that.
That's a really good point.
It's fucked. Yeah.
Yeah, but that brings me into kind of like what so we're gonna have to think about, this is further down the line. So this is just kind of like a thought experiment of, when clubs do come back, like when comedy clubs do come back and comedy shows do come back in like full force. A, when do you think that'll be? And B, what do you think that's going to look like post-COVID? Like, this is assuming we let's say like assuming we get a vaccine and assuming we don't get a vaccine. So I would just like to go around the table and get your opinions on that. So let's start with Lou.
Okay. Well, I think that, first of all, you live in Georgia, right, Rara?
Yeah, I live in Atlanta. Katie also lives in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So I live in a state that is famously sort of not adhering to like pandemic sort of guidelines. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. So and Arizona is getting a lot of time in the news lately for like lots and lots of COVID cases.
Yeah.
But that's because people don't care. And over here, comedy clubs are already open. So
you don't have to imagine it. You're already there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they are doing like we're only doing like 30% capacity sort of thing, but like Brian Regan was here last weekend, so
Why the
like
fuck does he need to do shows? Jesus
yeah,
Christ. Just be
like
rich. Just be rich and enjoy not being like not having to do this shit.
yeah, and like I don't know, it's open mics were happening like over the summer here, and like I it's kind of insane because like I actually did my first stand-up show at a place the other day in 7 months, and it was because it was ran by like people I trusted. Like the guy running the show has like an autoimmune disease, so he's like immunocompromised, but he felt okay enough to like, as long as we like wipe down the mics in between sets and like wear masks in the audience, like and I was like, I'll give it a shot, I guess. I did my first like 10 minutes in front of people, and it was cool. But afterwards, it was still just like, this might be a thing that I'm only going to do like if I feel up to it, like once or twice a month. And when a vaccine comes out, that's when it's going to be like I can actually hit it full force again. But in the meantime, it still feels weird, and it still feels like it's not the right time.
Right. And that feeling of I mean, like for me, I have so much stress going anywhere. I mean, like I have to go to work and people at my job are not like I'm wearing a mask, but and all the employees are, but the customers aren't and they don't have to. And it's like there is this just like psychic stress that happens in those situations. So I can't imagine doing it in like a voluntary sense. Like but yeah, so you don't have to imagine it. Like your city is already there. I didn't realize that Phoenix was like fully opened already. That's kind of nuts that they have people like clubs ready to go. But I mean, I get limited capacity. I don't even know if that even does anything. Like, does it?
I'm not sure that, like, I think it's the best they can do, but it's also like, I think since October has started, there have been like 60,000 new COVID cases in Arizona. So it's like, I'm starting to think that like if I am gonna do comedy, I have to resume, only doing it online again.
Right.
So yeah,
that's got to be I'm in the same kind of boat, and I think that also again is another accessibility issue is like the people that are going to be able to do these live gigs are going to be people that are like have good health insurance and are not immunocompromised, or people that just don't give a shit. Like
or they're just like maniacs.
Yeah, they're just maniacs, or they're just like complete nihilists about it, which is another thing. So Katie, what do you think is going to happen? Because right now in Atlanta, I don't think there are too many live shows going on, right? I'm totally out of the loop with that.
So like up until I guess, okay, so what is today? So it's been like quarantine's been 7 months. So I didn't do like in-person live comedy for the first 6 months. And then I did a Pont City Market outdoor show. And I will say I was asked to do shows prior to that, indoors and out, said no. I canceled full weeks of work. I wasn't going to hit the road. Like I literally was just doing online stuff. And then when I was asked to do this, it was like the Skull was doing like an outdoor show. And I was like, well, they're not going to not do it properly. Right. And I also am somebody, if I show up and it's not being done properly, I literally have no problem in going, bye-bye.
Yeah.
So like every show I've done, like all the people who are on the show, like have like brought their own mic, or we have multiple microphones. So I feel like there's like a little bit of a bad faith argument to all shows being bad, because I feel like the outdoor shows, as silly as I think the outdoor shows, like there are people on benches in blankets paying to be there. And I feel like there's like unhomed people like right outside getting the show for free, laughing at them. Like, oh, so I feel like there is like an innate irony to everything. But I feel like for me personally, like I feel like I've always been personally accountable for myself. Like I'm not a big toucher in general. So this has been, I hate touching people. Don't touch me. Great. And I feel like the people who are going out are being cautious, because I think like there's the stigma. If you ran the bad show, if you did the bad thing, you were going to be exiled. So like all the shows I've done that have been like outdoors, or like I've done like a brewery show that was like a warehouse, like with like open bay doors. I think that's basically outside. And then Center Stage has been like literally it's a 1,200 seater and they've got like 40 people in there.
Wow.
And I'm going in and I'm leaving. So I feel like that has been great for me. I love to leave.
Yeah.
I feel like the one thing though, and I think this is like, because I mean, I wouldn't do a show OTP. I wouldn't do a show on the road. I'm not doing an open mic. But I feel like all the shows that I would do, and I feel like there's certainly a divide there. And there's also a divide between the audiences. So like the very first outdoor show I did were I would say the most right-leaning outdoor shows. And then they got more like left-leaning, where it was like you could tell your material's working better. You know, I'm talking about writing letters to take down Robert E. Lee, and I'm like, I hear it.
Yeah.
And I even like there was like an AJC guy there, and he didn't quote me at all about saying like who's at shows digitally. But I think the thing that if you are progressive at all and you can use a computer, then this is your time to shine. Because I feel like my opinions are not always going to be shared by the whole audience. I try to have like comedy that's like as specific to me as possible. So if you like it, it's great. It's not political. I don't want to talk about that in my stand-up. I see it all day. So like online though, you can get as niche as you want. And I feel like the people who are being the safest and still like comedy are only going to Zoom shows. The people who are being kind of safe or safe are going to outdoor shows. And then the people who are like, I would go to a show and kiss somebody on the mouth to sit down in the front row. They're going to be at indoor shows no matter what. So it's up to you to go to like the indoor shows. Like, you know, to quote Fight Club, you determine your own level of involvement.
I like that. I like that view of it, because I was insanely cynical and pretty harsh about people doing in-person shows. And I wasn't really directed at people doing outdoor shows, because I think that's a valid form of, you know, it's much safer. It's outdoors, so it's a lot healthier than breathing in a bunch of like, you know, in general, it's healthier to just be outdoors enjoying something with other people than in a, you know, in a air conditioned germ filled room with smoke and, you know, and recycled air the whole night. But I was like insanely critical of the in club shows, because it was like right in the middle of summer when stuff started opening up in different states, and everyone just started getting back in the show grind. And it was like, y'all don't want to, I mean, like, I know everyone misses comedy, but are we not going to just like reassess what we're doing here? Like, because the 30% capacity thing, I mean, it sounds great in theory, and the mask thing sounds great in theory, but you're shuffling people through the same avenues of entrance and exit. It's like you're shuffling them through germ corridors to get to the germ room.
Don't get more, you know, behavior, like their behavior doesn't get better as they drink, so they're not going to put the mask back on. I mean, I was out of the two clubs in Atlanta.
Stop you, right? Like,
yeah. Out of the two clubs in Atlanta I have done shows at, one is doing shows indoors. And the funny thing is they're like, oh, it's limited capacity. It's like, honey, there were 6 people there before.
Yeah.
And then the other club owner is doing shows at Center Stage. And he asked me, he was like, do you think I should, like, I think he asked probably everybody who works for him, like, because I do the booking committee and stuff. And I was like, absolutely not. I would not do shows for you there. And I wouldn't want to go see a show if that was the case. And he didn't open in that 80 rooms thing, because that's a little common sense. You know what I mean? But I feel like, you know, people are going to do whatever they want no matter what. So it's your responsibility to be like, all right, these are the rules of the game currently. How do I play as me, wanting to stay healthy? And also, this is my career. Like, I need to not only like be good at comedy, so I have to like stay sharp, but like also,
you need money to live.
I need money. Yeah. So I think like open mics, so that's still the volunteer. Right. Yeah. Like to volunteer to like go and just like be unfunny somewhere. Like at least I'm getting $30 to be unfunny.
Yeah. That's another thing too that I've heard from people is that the Zoom shows are paying better than the regular clubs. And Jake Flores actually talked about this on his show, Why You Mad? Jake and Louisa were talking about this. They're like, oh, the Zoom shows are paying better because it's putting the hands directly into the hands, like it's putting the money directly into the hands of the performers rather than all this stuff going towards the club overhead. And I thought that was like a cool idea too, of just like basically it's kind of restructuring like how we think about money in comedy and like where it's going and how it's allocated and distributed. But I would love to like know everyone's thoughts about like, do you see like a future in comedy where like when things open back up fully, like we can kind of take back the reins as, you know, essentially like we are the workers of comedy, right? Like, do you see a future where we could have like a night, like a comedians union in our, you know, respective cities? Because that's been brought up a couple times by people. And I think like that model is very interesting, although I wouldn't know how it would work. But what are your opinions on like entertainer unions?
I mean,
think.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. You can go first.
Okay. Thank you. I think that I've been wanting to unionize comedians like since I got radicalized. Like I think that well, because like actors get to have a union, they get to have like a Screen Actors Guild or whatever. It's like the thing with comedy is that it is such like a flighty thing for flaky people. Like it just like I don't know, because it's like you'll see like one guy at an open mic and then like you won't see him for 2 years, and like you'll see him again and just like, hey, what have you been up to? He's like, I quit my job today. And it's like, oh, that's why you're here. Like so I think getting other comedians in on the union would actually be like the hardest part.
Yeah, a lot of scabs out there.
And that would be it too. Oh my God, yes, there would be like so many scabs in the comedy union. Like,
Katie, what do you think about the viability of a comedian union? You're like,
as soon as you said scab, I was like, one time I didn't want to do a show because I didn't want to go to the show with this other person, and so they said, "Oh, I'll do all the time," and then they didn't get double the pay; they only got $10 more, and I was like, I even talked to this person because I pretended I couldn't go, but it's like, you do double the time, you get double the pay. It's not like you do double the time, they give you a $10 bonus. And so you are fucking us over in the long run, because now that's what they will expect for a headliner, is to do all this time for only $10 more. So you're not thinking about grand scheme. And I think that is how it will never, I mean, because I think that like if we had collective bargaining, yes, we could do more. But I think that, I mean, like, I feel like, to go back to what you were saying before, where Zoom shows are paying better, I think that is to also my point of there are more progressive people online who are willing to pay for a ticket and also go to your Venmo and give you some money. Like I did a Jackie Cation show. She's like, I'll give you $25. And then later I got like twice as much because she goes, everybody gave so much money. Cool.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. And you're never going to get more.
Every time I stream, someone throws me like $20 or something.
That's the
like,
shit.
Yeah.
I'm never going to make more doing a comedy show now than I will online, like after the show, because I can't sell merch anymore in person. So all the merch sales will be digital. So technically I could have done that online.
Right.
So I do think that is like the divide of like the people who are like, thank you for doing this for us because this is what we are comfortable doing. We're willing to pay more, versus people are like, woo, back to old life. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
So, but with like, union, I mean, I think it sounds nice. I feel like we are some of the most selfish people as a whole.
Yes.
And who would be in charge?
We're narcissists.
We can't agree on like Bill Burr being funny or not. Who would be in charge?
And the people that aren't willing to die on either hill are the ones that are just like, whatever, man. Just fucking pay me or not. I don't care. Like, I always just like to talk about it because, as a dirty communist, I like to envision a world where we could actually have some ownership over stuff. But again, like the digital spaces are our ownership right now. Like this is like me setting up this whole stream cost me a fraction of the money it would cost me to like put up a bunch of fucking flyers around town and do a bunch of advertising and, get a hold of all the comedians and get them rounded up. Like, it's a great space for like I love the fact that digital spaces are so DIY right now, and I'm like, I think the trend in comedy is going to be the famous people trying to take over the Zoom stuff. So I think that's something we have to. That's something, because they're already doing it with podcasts, right? Like Conan O'Brien has a podcast, and it's like, why the fuck do you need a podcast, dude? Like, why?
Yeah, I listen every week and he's my hero, but right.
yeah. I mean, yeah, is it good? I don't know. Whatever.
It's like, why would you want to be less funny? Like, because it is less funny than a show. So now we know what the peak is, and now we know what you also can do. And I love Conan. I don't like the podcast.
I don't like the idea of like super famous people starting podcasts. I think it's like, hey, this is our shit. Like we're in the gutter here. Like, let us have our stupid shit down here. Like, please.
God, I was thinking about that the other day because I was listening to that podcast, Smartless. Have you guys heard about that one yet?
Never heard of it.
It's Sean Hayes, Will Arnett, and Jason Bateman. Like, it's their podcast, and like I was like listening to it at work and like going to the bathroom, and I was just like, oh, I'll never have like a successful podcast. Cool.
Well, it's like making Jim Carrey Joe Biden. It's like, thank God some of these young up and comers are finally getting a shot.
Fucking God, right?
But also that casting is really good. Like,
he looks like him. Woody Harrelson was my favorite Joe Biden, though, because he was so insane.
Agreed.
I don't remember. Yeah. I was that on SNL?
You'll like it, Rara. Yeah, you would enjoy that.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll catch stuff on SNL and I'll be like, all right, that was pretty funny. But most of the time, it's so unbearably cringy that I cannot fucking handle it. You know, like there's just sometimes where I'm just like, this is like the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't understand how anyone is like agreeing to this. But yeah, like, yeah, anyway, I would love to do like a whole episode of just like SNL and like the downfall of SNL and quality.
Dude, I spent my whole last weekend making a video about how they stole a Cumtown bit. I mean, I have time if you want to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can do it let's do it on your stream sometime, actually. That would be a good one.
Yeah. I'd love to make fun of them anywhere.
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, we're going to we're doing like a shorter stream tonight. I'm actually like going to be experimenting with a shorter format like this because I think it's like a lot more energetic and fun. So we're like, Katie, let's talk about what you've got going on in the future.
So my future involves a lot of being inside, and because of that, I've set up like this new Twitch. You know, I got lights. I'm trying to be cool like the kids. I got a purple light. I got a ring light. I got this thing.
Gotta get the galaxy
light. Please send me a link. I'll buy anything. I got a microphone.
I'm not sponsored. They should be paying me though.
And so I saw. I saw Rara, so I saw a couple Atlanta comics, but not many. And then I started watching Hassan Pikers.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I'm upset. I'm like, it's hard to like tear myself away to come do my own. But I'm like,
I was just watching his earlier too when I was getting my makeup on.
You're talking to people, like you're, kind of exchanging ideas. And all I do all day is watch YouTube videos and make fun of them anyway. And so I'm like, that's fun. So that's been like my first foray into it. But the show I'm going to start doing is called Bits. You Better Work. Because I think that it's kind of like Kill Tony. So it's going to be like, here's your stand-up. Let's kind of roast you. But it'll be like with professional comics looking at like 10-year-old material. Or like I did one today just so people could go like check out like a sneak peek. And basically I just did my set from this weekend, which was like all new material. It's not on my album. So then I like critiqued myself live streaming. And so like the future ones are going to be that. And then we're going to do like a minute long, like other, like not people like non-friends, I guess, but other comics I just don't know. And we'll just watch them it's similar to Kill Tony, but I'm not as mean because my heart would hurt. But I'm going to start doing that on November 1st, which is a Sunday. And then, so we have like all that planned. And I've got a lot of like really funny Atlanta comics, and then I'm still looking for a few. So if anybody,
I'll dig up some bullshit.
Yeah. I know it people cringe to think about it. So I don't want to be like put people on the spot. But like it is.
Oh no, I'm down to embarrass myself. Totally.
Okay, cool. Hell yeah.
So when are you doing like the inaugural I guess stream for that?
So the first one's going to be on Sunday, November 1st from 4 to 6, and I'm gonna have like 3 comics on, and we'll watch their old stuff, and then we'll just talk about it. And then everybody's also gonna bring like a minute clip of something that they're like not embarrassed of, so like you can see that they're good now. And then also I'll be like posting some of mine like leading up to it, just to kind of like have content, but also like to kind of like just get it hyped for that. And then yeah, I've just like been watching a lot of YouTube videos and commenting. I was going to do a Gordon Ramsay one, you know, just get high at 420 and have people come hang out and make fun of Gordon Ramsay shows, the Ramsay Famsy.
That sounds really awesome. And obviously, anyone watching the stream, the links for Katie's website and Twitch are right on the bottom. Right at the bottom.
Down there.
And Lude, you got anything going on? With comedy or anything creative you're working on? You want to plug? Or if you want Twitter followers, we can throw them your way.
Yeah, please follow me on Twitter. I would like to break that 250 mark sometime soon. If you are in the Phoenix area, I am doing a live stand-up date November 5th at the Bridge Improv Theater.
Cool.
And limited capacity, masks on in the audience. And at some point, I'm going to have my own show on Twitch here soon that I'm still working on. It is going to be called Lou Moon Tonight, and it is an old school talk show.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to try and have like sketches throughout and have some like guest comedians come on. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to both y'all's projects. You both are very funny people and have always been so sweet and nice to me throughout the time I've known you. And I'm looking forward to like seeing you both again someday in the future. Maybe when we're all fighting on the same side of the war.
Hell yeah. We're on one side of the picket line, baby.
Yeah. Fighting the scabs on the other side.
And vote.
Yeah.
You gotta vote.
Yeah.
I don't know what the sticker is. Everybody vote.
Yeah.
I early voted 9 minutes. 9 minutes
Nice.
today.
Yeah.
I never early vote because my polling place is like it's like a weird haven in the middle of Atlanta where it's like it takes me 2 minutes to vote literally. So I'm like I'm in and out every time. It's fantastic. But yeah, if you have like long polling, you should go vote early for sure. But yeah, anyway, y'all, thank you so much for being on the stream.
Thank you. This was so fun, Rara. What a blast.
So much
yeah,
fun.
and I can't wait to see your show, Katie. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. So I'm going to just go ahead and piece y'all out because I got a couple more things to talk about and then bye.